My name is Brenda Jean Power, but I've also studied metaphysics for many years. So basically, I am Dr. Brenda Jean Power, and the metaphysics is the nature of being. Who and what are you being today at any given moment? That's up to you, but who's the you? We're going to be talking about the ego today, and the ego. I've been studying for years about what an ego is. What is the ego? How does it function? Why do we do it? And it's important that you all begin to know this. The ego, just think about what is your interpretation of it. Most people, we just be a child. You copy and mirror neuron and match your family, and then eventually you start to break away, and you may have the, terrible twos, and then I don't know what you call the teenage years. But you have these stages. Well, by the time that you hit 30, right about in there, you've already memorized everything about who and what you're going to be. Now, this is where you on a soul level need to wake up and say, I kind of want, I want to grow up now. Okay, I'm 30. I want to grow up. And what does that mean? You have grown up. No, you have the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual part of you. If you want a happier life, then you need to connect with your heart and your brain. And your brain is just a machine, but it needs to be operated by the mind. But if the mind is the ego versus your soul, then there becomes the problem. Because when we constantly, the moment that we as a soul come into the womb, we're doing separation. But it doesn't mean disconnection. It doesn't mean that you can't use that energy with spirit to move forward. So my job is to help wake you up. The younger kids, I just give them the tools they need to help them through their emotions so they can use emotional regulation, and it raises their EQ. I help adults do the same thing. It doesn't matter what age you are. I just turned 59, and it was like, whoa, that went fast. But for ever since I've basically moved to Australia, I became more and more of my authentic self. My physical health began to get stronger. My emotional self, I have become more emotionally regulated. I don't have to do a knee jerk reaction. I would have to say that, you have to understand that you're not killing off the ego. What did you all hear when you were learning about spirituality when you first got into this? Okay, so you're going to do meditation, you're going to bypass your busy false brain, you know, but what else do you need to look at, right? And what else have people told you? And because you're like, before AI and before any of that, what is the ego? And you don't have to kill it off. You don't have to let it always be in charge. That frontal lobe, which creates reality, that it makes executive decisions, you as a soul need to become in charge of this. But you have to understand, as an awareness of being responsible for your emotions, your thoughts, how you create reality. And I never understood the word, what is reality? And I was in the field for a long time until I really dove into it with my dissertation. And wow, the brain is amazing. And when you don't have that heart brain coherence, um, meaning you're allowing your soul and the aspects of love just be this cohesive love with much wisdom, understanding the parameters. And as you begin to do this, you start to turn, and the things that used to annoy you, you're like, yeah, I can't even be bothered anymore. You grow. You're pushing forward. I need to do this. I need to move in this direction. And you start to hear with your spiritual sense, but you hear it more with your heart, not the ego heart, but the heart that is with the way that spirit and you represent love. And you're not doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're not doing it because everybody's watching. It is a knowing and a sense and a deep sense of you that go, oh, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to think this way anymore. I don't want to keep attracting in. If I'm already in alignment at any given moment, and this alignment is what I'm looking at is pretty bad, then my inner world needs to be changed. The value systems, that value container, what's important to you. If safety is important to you, you may sacrifice certain parts of yourself. You may sabotage certain parts of yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a lot to know here. So we're going to just take this little section called the ego. And when I'm reading energies, there are 8 patterns that I see specifically over and over and over, but many emotions. And we kind of, as a normalcy of what a human is, we whittle everything down to conclusions. One, a conclusion. This is it. Becomes my excuses, my reasonings. This is, so you're like, okay. And but that is to make sense of your world, because if you had a shock and you over identified with matter, and you stayed that way, as you're processing emotions and thoughts, and that, my friend, is you disconnecting from your soul. That is you responding. But if you stay there, you got 90 seconds. And if you start learning how to be your soul, then that 90 seconds to feel it and dissipate the emotional chemical peptide and choose again with your soul, you can save yourself a lot of heartache. Do you have to always take offense? Do you got to do this? No, you don't. And I'm going to walk it through the best I can. So let's just take ego. Again, we're going to be talking about the ego pattern. This is the personality conditioned pattern that I see in the way we are as a human before you start to grow to become a spiritual human. So the ego is an electric and magnetic. So electromagnetic, that's the E, electromagnetic, because everything and all things are electromagnetic. This is how reality becomes real, because it is different frequencies and different vibrations, and this is slow enough that we can see it, we can feel it, we can use our sensory systems. Okay, now electromagnetic, now the G is guiding. These electric energies are guiding. Okay, so when you have that electromagnetic, refers to energy, vibration, and frequencies, and then that guides and acting as a directional force or navigating system. So it could be part of your GPS, but depends on who's operating, right? And the O is omni dash apparition. Omni meaning all powerful, all present, universal. And the apparition is a visible manifestation, the spirit or light form. Now, people say, well, I'm just a body that has a spirit. No, you are a spirit that is being, and you have vibrated this body, the spirit, into shape. So ego is an electromagnetic guiding omni-apparition. Now, when you, as the soul, don't remember that you're a soul, you are feeling that separation, that abandonment, that loss, that drop from 500 hertz of love. And as you start to drop down, especially beyond the 200s, as you drop, you experience, the soul is experiencing what isn't love. So we can go, oh my goodness, I know what love is. It's not this, not this, not this. But we don't say that. We don't get the wisdom. We just go, oh my God, we as a soul have beamed ourselves, our spiritual selves in here, and the soul is a recorder. But as you beam yourself in here, your cells have a little code all around it. Every person has their own code. So you can't really miss, beaming into your body. You're like, this is my code. And as you drop into this energy field and you start to separate and feel abandoned, the energy don't go away. It's always solid, it's always present, it's always strong, but it's how we use our gift of awareness and our observation. But it is when you put on not just this physical suit, but the emotional body, the mental body, so that the physical body and the spiritual bodies can communicate. We wanted to know what love wasn't. Okay. So as we drop, as we drop, we allow ourselves to experience. Now, you can experience and be happy, but that the moment that your experience becomes less than love, you can't help but go, oh my God, or oh my God. You're staring at it. But this processing this experience, there's a glitch. We are so hyper focused here. We don't know what's going to happen next. It could be like Schrödinger's box where the cat was is in when with the radiation. When we open, is the cat going to be alive or dead? And a lot of people think that's just an experiment. But if you think about different experiences, you don't know what's going to happen next. So we always gravitate towards the negative because our EQ, our emotional quotient, is not strong enough. It's not learned. The tools weren't present. We didn't learn them at home. We didn't learn them at school. We didn't learn them at church. But taking accountability as a soul and learning to transform these, oh my God, experiences, and we can measure them because they're there, they're yours. But the question then becomes, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? Now, if you're in your ego, you won't know it. You'll just be the issue. You'll just be the pain and the suffering. You'll just be. You guys understand what I'm saying? And when you're just being this pain and the suffering, then it becomes a big issue. Because if all you can focus is with suffering and pain, then you are ordering from the universe more of it. And when you order more of it, you then go, oh my gosh, and you can't stop focusing. And you become more of what you see, the more of what you feel, and your left brain, when you start to disconnect from that and truly believe that you're separated, your right brain kind of just can't come online because fear and different parts of your brain are going to take over, and you'll go from beta, like me talking consciously to you. And as you become conscious of your actions, of the way you talk, but here's the thing, the moment you become conscious that you are expressing some negativity or a negative emotion and you're feeling, people are telling you stop to feel, stop. That's not what we're saying, don't stop. It means recognize where you're putting your life force. Okay? So you will kind of shut down the right brain. You'll disconnect the heart. And your heart's going, oh my God, I need to protect because it's got to survive. The left brain has no clue. Its main job is to come up with a reason. So, and I've talked about this experiment many times about how they would show a word like walk, and then they cut the brain in half, and the right side says, oh, you mean walk? Yeah, that's what that is. But if the left brain can't see it, The left brain will say, oh, I got up. Why'd you walk? Because I got up because I was thirsty. That wasn't the truth, but it was logical reasoning for the left brain. Now, if you're not home as a soulful spirit, then you're not going to understand the logic, the whole spiritual logic. When you have the wholeness and the integration, your left brain and your right brain start to work together. Now, left brain is conclusion. This is it. It's the truth, even though it may be not truth. But then you hold on to it, you're feeling it, you're saying that's how I process. You as a soul and a spirit come down inside, and then all of a sudden you're experiencing life and something bad happens, you go, and this is the lens, you're looking at the ego, electromagnetic guiding omni-apparition, you're looking and you're going, oh, look at that, look at that, oh, look at that, look at that. And all of a sudden you went, oh my God, look at that. You become that experience, you become and you wear this experience. And the body, and this is where I have found anytime that you so over-identified with matter, it will alter, the environment will alter your DNA. And when it does that, you don't know it, but the body then has to protect itself. The values, the safety, security, stability, sanity, serenity, and that space, that freedom becomes altered from that experience. And then you start to build a life from it. And the body then takes shape, and some of the meridians will start to go, you have this disruption. So you have joy, but you're living the interrupt. And you've adapted, which is great, but the problem is the body takes this hit. And it's not that it chose, I'm not going to forget this, it is altered. And you build that life around it. And left brain says it's this. That ego is the I minus the soul, minus God, minus this. You need to strengthen that aura. And somebody's actually doing it. This is what tribal basics are for, to strengthen that aura. But when you have that disconnect, and you're like, what? You don't know that you're disconnected. You don't know that maybe your energies and you are beside yourself and that you are just the problem. You're wearing the issue. You're wearing that point in time. And then your body feels like you're driving around with your one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas, and you're wearing an erosion and creating the DNA and all that to change. The ego is meant to protect you. I take offense to that. Oh, did you believe it that they said this? I was walking by getting something out of the grocery store, and as I'm walking this way, this girl comes, oh my God! And I'm like, okay, I needed to see that. And then I go around this other corner, and this lady goes, ah, he says to her, you're such a gaslighter. She goes, I know, I'm so proud of myself. And he's like, I know, you're so good at it. And I'm thinking, why do we have to be proud that we won something over, that we hurt another soul, that we, because we have to protect ourselves. And so where is the authentic self? Now, ego authentic self is that I'm proud of this and I'm proud of that, and I'm, and they just, you gotta not lose your power. You can't let anybody win one over on you. But to cling to these patterns of survival minus your soul or your heart, people want to know why they are physically sick. People want to know why they have mental and emotional issues. People want to know, but yet they don't know they're asking. They could be screaming the question from the rooftops. And then when you start to present the answers, they're like, I didn't ask that question. And it's like embarrassing. No, I got no issues. I'm perfect. It's like, really? Are you? How's it working for you? That could be in that manner. But it's so important that you wake up. What part of you? Who's supposed to wake up? Do you guys even know this answer? This movement, this 5D experience, what are we waking up from? We're waking up from the ego. We're waking up from that part of ourselves that's just the survival mode. And then it has these patterns and strategies and programs that to survive with other humans. But we are in this next part of the world where we're learning to have a grand convergence so that we can evolve the soul and the heart and the mind and that authentic self and learning to be one with yourself, that integrated unity. And a lot of people say, well, I can't even be alone with my own thoughts. Maybe we should start by healing that. So the ego was formed to experience. The ego, when our heart and our mind is in place, then we can be in charge of that lens and say, yeah, no, I take my power off that. I'm going to put my power here. Oh, I'd like to experience this, even though I know that there's going to be a beginning stage, which the world tells me I'm supposed to go, oh, I failed, I can't, and go through all that negativity. But the spirit goes, but do I have to? Really? The ego says, well, that's how we learn. But if you have your whole self and you start using your whole brain and your whole, heart brain connection, you're going to notice. Who's going to notice? If you can learn to be your third option, if you can learn to be an integrated spiritual human, if you can learn how to use the left brain and the right brain, the yin and the yang, and when you learn to do this, then the noise that would distract you, the gnawing of the teeth, the stuff that would stop you, you don't care anymore. You're like, no, because you know how to process the emotions. And so as I began on my journey, I noticed my thoughts of negativity. I noticed what I was manifesting every single day. I noticed, and I'm like, can't something be changed? This is ridiculous. I don't know. And I didn't know I was talking to my soul. I don't want to do this anymore. And it had nothing to do with giving up my life. I want to live, and it's not in me to hurt me in that fashion because I value this vehicle. I didn't know, but I'm knowing more now that this vehicle is important to me, especially after the age 50. It's very important to me. And how do you get your body to get healthy, to cooperate, to go to the next thing that you need? How do you? Well, it begins by understanding that you're just not a physical being. Now, how do you know if you're an ego? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. The question is, if you're going to learn about what ego is, electromagnetic, guiding omni-apparition, and this lens was, there to help you see and experience and interact with people, but the moment that you emotionally went, ah, and you started to wear each experience and adapt and to change and to survive, you need to pull that off. But how do you know to pull it off? Most people don't. The more that we begin to understand that we don't have to be the over identification of I, and this identity that I am my story, I am my pain, I am my suffering, I. When you begin to realize you don't have to be that there's a soulful part of you. And you can't just wake up and live it every day. You got to process those emotional chemical peptides when you did take that lens of life and over identified with it. And this is where you have to heal backwards. And a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? You have to take this moment that you can only see. You got to choose this timeline that you're looking through. But as you take this moment, okay, that you can only see, you got to stop over identifying with the emotions. You got to stop living by the conclusions because your left brain's going to lie to you. Not because it's evil, it's just that's the way the left brain works. I was sitting there one day, years and years ago, and I said something, but I felt proud of it. And then another part of me was like, well, why'd you say that? That hurt them. And it, what do you call that? The conscious, conscience, conscious. My conscious got to me. My conscious. But I became self-conscious. Not that I was insecure. It was with my soul. I'm like, was that necessary to be said? Did I need to do this? Did I need to be defensive, justify everything, and do a non apology? Did I need to minimize and harm? Did I need to do a spiritual bypassing? Did I need to be inferior or complex? Do I need to do a perfectionism? Do I need to do image management or pretend not to judge while I'm judging? Do I need to blame the shadow, the littles, or the traumas? And I'm like, what? At first, when we begin to wake up, we're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's because of my littles. And you understand more of the concept. But it's those other ones like minimizing because, oh, that's a trait. Yes, I'm going to hold power. And when I had to experience this about, do I want this person in my world? Now, I'm told I have to. But here I am. I just got my doctorate. And I told Facebook, I told my husband and told, my friends, but that's it, right? Well, my husband was so proud of me that he wanted to scream from the rooftops because he knows I've been working so hard and so dedicated to understanding metaphysics. He was super excited. So he thought, I'm going to do this with family. I'm going to do this with an experience. And he was so happy. And then the person in the room, I didn't know it hit me at first because I never trained myself to see it. And this projection showed this ring of this person, and it dawned on me that that's what I grew up with. This is how you survive. This is how you be. And they were minimizing all my efforts. And the energy just went, "Oof." My husband's like, what? And he's feeling a little deflated. What's going on? And I just said, it's okay. This is maybe family, but this is not my love, healthy family. This is personalities fighting against each other. We didn't stay long. We left. But I didn't have to accept that their truth about how they minimized all the hard work and put themselves on the pedestal of how they had a bigger achievement because their boss said, good job. I began to understand this ego protection pattern, but I didn't have to play the victim. I see it. I'd call my energy back. First, I was like, what's going on? But then I had to heal backwards, which means I started using soul codes. I call them soul codes because that's when people call me up or they want a session, whatever they pay me for, it's usually is, oh, okay, yep. You're in a crap show. This is what's going on. Okay, let's hold. And then I'll say like R1S or L2D. And they know how to measure and hold, and they feel better after about 15 minutes, and they start to get the wisdom to not just how they behaved, but how somebody was behaving towards them. But when you take tribal and you start learning, you understand that your inner world creates your outer world, and there may be issues that have not been resolved, or there may be a disrupt that you need to heal to get your power back. It's not just about emotions. And as I begin to teach, it's like, okay, do you know what it feels like to take a defense? Oh God, that hurt. And we walk around is hurt. We don't realize that we are taking offense and we're being very defensive, or that we have self-denigration, because in that moment as a child, I believed that they were right, I was wrong, because that's what I was grew up as the pattern. But as the adult of healing and growing with my soul, I'm projecting out something where I had lost power before, and the new stand in to do this was this person. Where have I seen this before? And I didn't have to take offense, but my body alerted me. I said, Body, are you telling me? And it was like I stood back. I'm projecting you to do this so that I can heal something I can't remember as a child. And when I took that emotion, instead of telling the left brain to go into high beta, which is stress, and to create all these stories to be the hero and to protect myself, and they're the enemy, and I thought that way because I was a child, but I'm not the child anymore. I'm 59 years old, right? Well, at the time I was 50 something. I don't remember what it was. But I had done a lot of emotional work, which helped change the mental stories. But when you do spiritual work, you don't have to spiritually bypass it. You don't have to use the lingo. You don't have to just pretend, you do the hard work using crystals, meditation, yoga. I love all those things, but there's more to it. So I have a tool belt full of all kinds of things to get me through all those stages and layers. But as you heal right where you are, and your soul keeps telling you that you keep choosing to be hurt, wake up from it. Start taking that over identification of the lens off and go, yeah, do I really want this as I get older? And when I grow up, as a soul, do I want this? Do I still want to always react as a child, where my life force had that experience, and I took a big chunk of it and said, this is it. And so every day I have to go through the whole story of what happened at 2 years old. And why are you so mad? Well, when I was 2, I had this happen to me, and you haven't gotten over it yet? What? What do you mean? There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots that we can talk about. A lot. But if you can understand the lens, the ego is a lens. How does your soul look through the lens? Does it look through and create and vision reality? Or does it look through, over identify, and all you're doing is looking through your face and stuck at that moment of the disrupt? And this is where you have to adapt and create your world from here. And you got to protect, you got to protect, you got to protect. Stress, 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 stress. Our bodies, now we have aged, we start to mellow, we go through things, but our body's saying, well, you got your foot on the brake and the gas same time, and it's starting to wear down, and this is what we call aging. Thank you. But why do you need to be that 3D person? Why do you need to be the survival over identified self? You don't. This is where we're learning to understand that when you over identify and you start to wear your ego, then your ego has to protect the identity that was created in the moment of the interrupt. That it has to be proud of how it survived or how it did this. Like, I was combing my hair this morning, and as I'm combing it, I'm like, oh, I wear this with pride. And I'm like, I do? My spirit is like going, just listen to the word. Oh, this is my pride and joy. It is? I do like my hair. I look shitty. I look so bad with short hair. But anyway, your ego will, why do trolls get to people? Because you are this lens that you're identifying with matter, and you are there to protect the identity. You're there with your pride, and you have to protect this self-image, and but that is not the whole you. It's important to know you do not have to be your false persona, your over identification with matter. You do not have to be alpha or beta, the yin and yang of, oh, the extremes. Those are just meant to be experiences. You gather the wisdom from all of it. You gather the wisdom. And you live by the wisdom, and you learn to take off these masks, and you learn to look around and see a bigger picture instead of conclusions. I live by conclusions. I live by this. By the age of 30, you're just a memorized program. You're the first AI. But as you wake up, and you have different stages of when the Saturn return happens, and mine is hitting again. And I love Medicine Woman Solution. That's Soultion. But then that was a phase, that was a stage. Now you're ready for the next one. Don't be married to the name. Don't let it own you. And I'm like, yeah, don't let it own me. You are correct. And so then I called my energy off it, and I says, this is changing, isn't it? And so then I learned all about the algorithms. I learned a ton of things about the videos and YouTube and all of this, and the things that I didn't want to have to expend all my energy in because it's so hard to learn. And well, it's not anymore. Experience is that God has given you that you can get more information. It's more easy at the fingertips. And if you keep saying, thank you, Spirit, you keep getting more and more answers so you can grow. So the first thing I need you to understand is that ego needs to be addressed. The ego and its protection, and what does the ego stand for? I'm sure you can tell me now. The ego protection, when you over-identify with matter, you are now the conclusion of that interrupt experienced. And so then the ego is edging God out. We want you to become whole again. We want you to have a heart-brain coherence. We want you to move your soul to be in charge of the frontal lobe. Why? Because my experience of letting life just happen to me and understanding how it's happening, or I'm just the victim, all of it, I don't have to. When you can wake up and notice that your sensory system doesn't need to be so lit, so overstressed, overstimulated, overwhelmed, and you start to work with the physical form, you start working with the soul, and you start handling these spiritual issues that keep repetitively making the physical form have this life and this health and this issues. And no, you can become in charge.